we're starting a little bit early, just because I've got a couple of people that I want to invite so that it's not just me that you're talking to. Before I do, welcome for those of you wherever in the world you are. Great for you to join us here today. You're here today, hopefully, to get some key updates about UE, and we've had some really great questions in advance. So we've got a couple of minutes before we start, but I'm now going to invite Ray Priest to join us. So bear with me 1 second. There we go. We've got Ray, who should hopefully be joining us in a moment. And then I'm just going to invite one more person and we can get going. Fantastic.
Hiya, Sophie. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah?
It's a little quiet, Ray.
Is it a bit quiet? Oh, that's probably because the air conditioning's going. It's very hot. I'm in Thailand today. Yeah, so it's very warm. So I've just put on the air conditioning. Can you hear me now? I'll see if I can put it up.
It's just maybe moving your microphone a little bit closer. I think it's fine. I can hear you okay. Just you project your voice like you always do, Ray.
I'll have to shout more. Fine. Hello, everybody.
So yeah, this is as mentioned. So this is the UE Instagram kind of update, live Q&A. There will also be a recording of this. So if you're watching this and it's not live, apologies. Hopefully you've managed to put in some great questions, or some of the things that we talk about today will help you. But really, before we get into it, let's do a couple of introductions. So I'm Sophie Turnbull. I'm Head of International Student Recruitment and Admissions at UE. If you're joining us today as an offer holder, which hopefully you are, it will be my name that you see on the bottom of your offer holder. So congratulations from me. And I'm going to hand you over to Ray for him to introduce himself.
Okay, hi again, Sophie. So my name's Ray Priest, and I'm the International Director for the University in Asia Pacific. So that's why I'm sat here in Thailand. So I'm sat in the spare room. I've got nice cushions behind me, feeling comfortable on the sofa. But if we get lots of noise from outside, the parrots are just outside the door. And if you hear them speaking in Thai, then that's who they are. Who knows? They might be able to actually answer your questions, but I'm afraid they'll be in.
That would be great. I think people would rather listen to your parents answering questions than us, Ray, but let's see. Yeah. So what we're going to do now that we've done introductions is we've got a few key updates that we hope will be useful for you in your next steps to UE. We've had some great questions sent through, so we're kind of going to talk through them between us. We want to kind of keep this hopefully kind of useful information for you, a few just reminders to help you on your journey to UE. So here we go. So I'm going to cover, unfortunately, a couple of boring things first of all, but I think it is stuff that hopefully is important for you to kind of be able to join UE this September. So we do have some important deadlines coming up that if you're an offer holder, you really need to be aware of. We've sent you lots of emails about these, so you may be thinking, okay, Sophie, you don't need to tell us again, but we always get students who miss them. So I think it's always worth us kind of recapping these key dates. For those of you on postgraduate courses, you may have found that your deadline for deposit is already passed. However, if your offer is still live, then that means that we still have spaces on your course. Be quick with paying your deposit, or at least get in touch with us and let us know so that we hold your space. But we're still encouraging deposit payers for those postgraduate students, even though the deposit deadline has passed. The next big deadline that we have after that is for those of you who are still conditional on English language, is our English language testing day. And this is a really important date, isn't it, Ray? For students to kind of be working towards. You know, you get an opportunity to do a free English language test with UE. It's online, so you don't need to travel anywhere. Obviously only able to use for UE, but why would you want to use it for anywhere else? I'm hoping you're joining us today because you're planning on starting with us this September. So please make sure, if you're still conditional on English language, there are a few courses excluded, such as our professional law courses, but otherwise, please do make sure that you register. You'll have an email in your inbox, your personal inbox about that. Next deadline, so we've got the English language. The next one is an application deadline. And now most of you today will be offer holders, but I'm only saying this in case anyone has joined because they've been like, wow, you is holding a live event. Let's join that. That's going to be exciting. So it is our last application deadline. So if you're on this, you're not an offer holder, you still want to join us this September, please be aware that for the courses that still remain open, this is going to be your deadline. The next deadline, I think, is probably one of the most important. This is our deposit deadline. So for courses that still remain open for deposit deadlines, the 7th of August is when you need to have paid for by. But we do have some courses already that are getting very, very full. So we always encourage students to pay deposits as soon as possible. This helps us with your accommodation application. It helps us with your CAS, which we'll come on to in a bit. I know that we've had a few questions about CAS. So we encourage students to pay as soon as possible, but you do have until the 7th of August to make your deposit payments if there are still places on your course. For those of you who are not on the UKVI low risk list, you do need to provide financial documents as part of your CAS application, your visa application. And so the 11th of August is going to be the final date in which you can submit your bank statement to UE for us to check. So we know that sometimes students are like, oh, it's fine, I've checked my bank statement myself, but we do find that quite often there's little errors there. So we do need to check all of those bank statements. And ideally, I mean, actually not just ideally, by the 13th of July, you should prepare the minimum balance that you need in your bank statement to ensure that by that deadline of the 11th of August, you've had the funds for the 28 minimum required days, and it meets the kind of minimum balance requirement. So please, once you've put that balance in there, no later than the 13th of July, remember, don't let that balance dip. And we always say, put extra money than what today's exchange rate is to ensure that if there is fluctuation, that you've covered that amount. Because unfortunately, the UKVI do look at the rate from when your visa is submitted. So please do kind of make sure that you cover that by putting in a little bit extra money to cover the amount that you need. And then the last date, so you've met all of those are the deadlines, you've been fantastic offer holders, you're going to be great students with us because you're good at meeting deadlines, is the 18th of August. And this will be the last date for CAS. And for this, we've worked backwards from our start date to ensure that you're here in time to start. We don't want students arriving late. We want you to be here for the start of your lessons so that you can you know, have the best study experience with us. You're not missing any of that important information. So that CAS date's really important because we know that after that date, some students don't get their visa in time, and unfortunately we can't accept those late arrivals. We have had a few questions about CAS issuing time. So we only started issuing CASs in June this year. So there might be a little bit of a backlog of students who perhaps submitted all of the documents in May, and we're just working through those. So apologies to any students if you've had a little bit of a delay. We do try from the point where CAS Shield, and remember you must be logging into CAS Shield and making sure you've uploaded all of your documents, there's nothing outstanding. At that point, when you're ready for CAS, we do work to try and turn them around in 5 working days. If you need your bank statement, checking that will take a little bit longer because we try to turn your bank statements around in 5 working days and then your CASs. You've got plenty of time. We know it's frustrating when you feel that you've done all of the things that you need to do and that you just want your CAS, you want to be able to get onto the next steps, but we do have a lot of students joining. So try and be a little bit patient. But if you do feel like, oh, actually, you know, I uploaded my bank statement 3 weeks ago, I did everything I need to do, I've not heard anything, you can contact us on international@uwe.ac.uk and flag this to us, and we will look into that for you, because I know that CAS is going to be something that we get asked a lot about today, and where possible be patient while we work through a little bit of that backlog, but we do try and turn them around in 5 working days once everything is okay. So I've talked quite a lot. I'm sure you're sick of hearing my voice. I'm going to hand over to Ray, who's also going to continue to give a few updates before we move on to some questions and answers. We'll have a bit of a chat between us.
Yeah, brilliant. And there are so many things coming in about CAS, although somebody, I didn't catch the name, but posted that they've got their visa. Oh. They actually got their visa, which is great. And I know somebody in India I was talking to yesterday got their visa as well. So it does happen, but I know people, exactly what you said, Sophie. It's, you know, it does feel frustrating, but if you think there are several thousand of you joining the university this September, and there's a few people working through the CAS, and we will get them through in the next couple of weeks. But we'll talk more about that when we come to questions and answers. Other things that are pretty important, though, are thinking about things like accommodation. And I know lots of you have applied for accommodation, and so please make sure that you have accepted. If you're going to go for accommodation on campus, you have to accept the accommodation that you're offered. And if you haven't applied yet and you're still interested in doing so, it's really important you do that soon. As I said, there's many thousands of people traveling to Bristol this year. So if you want to be on campus with the accommodation, you need to be quick. Get in there and get that sorted. And we will be helping, of course, if you're seeking accommodation outside of the university. Loads of houses, loads of flats and apartments all around the city. So we'll be helping with that. And of course, part of your pre-CAS work is that you've got to be looking at a series of webinars. Now, these webinars are there for a good reason. They're there because they'll give you lots of information. There's webinars on accommodation, on things like money matters, on actually something that is quite serious, but really important that you listen to around assessment offences. All of these things are really important. And if you're bringing dependents, if you're bringing members of your family, make sure you've tuned into that webinar as well, because that'll give you lots of information that you need. I know loads of you are actually thinking about, what will I be doing after university? You're thinking about work and the graduate route, and actually about your employment in the future. Well, you can actually check in and look up GradLink on the website, and you can get some of the information about all the support you'll be getting. My feeling is, when it's thinking about employment and thinking about jobs in the future, the sooner you do it, the better. So start actually looking around, and then there's going to be all the career services at the university who will be helping you. So really good news on that. Now, if you're a postgrad student, so somebody who's coming to do a master's degree, there is a course that's specially for you, and we'll be sending out some comms about this, some communications, and it's called UE Thrive. It really is a great title, because it is about you thriving at university and about you setting your goals for the future, really thinking about what you want to do in your future career. So I'm going to recommend that you really do that course. Get involved with UE Thrive. Now, as we've said already once, and we're going to be saying it lots of more times, if you're really unsure about something, or you're really worried about something personally, don't get frustrated. You can always contact, if you've got a member of staff in country, some of you have got that. If you've got a UE member of staff in country, you can contact them. Or if not, use that email, international@uwe.ac.uk, international@uwe.ac.uk. I nearly forgot it then. And so you don't forget it. Okay. We're going to get into some questions, and we'll have a chat through here. There's so many coming through. So it's fascinating. What's lovely, actually, one of the things, Sophia, you're seeing everybody's connecting with each other. You know,
it's really nice. Yeah, lots of who's doing journalism. I can see lots of connections being made. What a fantastic way of people from all over the globe. I mean, this is what's the most exciting thing. And even on this, you've got, I'm in Bristol, which is actually very hot for the UK at the moment, and Ray's all the way over in Thailand. So even us today are in different parts of the globe, but connecting online. So exciting to see all of our new cohort of students already making those global connections. You're all going to be fantastic. If you're already online making those connections, what opportunities are you going to have when you're actually in the UK meeting people face to face? Very exciting.
International HRM, I'm just seeing it, or computational, I can't even say that. Computational architect. That sounds a bit but it's therapists. This is amazing. Project managers. Sorry, we better get on to the questions.
We're sorry, me and Ray, otherwise we're going to end up just reading out all of your course titles, which for us is quite exciting because there's such a nice mix of you joining us. But let's get on to some of the questions that we've been, and we are keeping an eye on the questions you're asking us, but we're a little bit older than most of you. Well, I'll certainly speak for myself. So kind of multitasking online on social media isn't our forte. So apologies if you post a question, we miss it. you know, and we will try and kind of pick up on the main things, but, you know, bear with us. We you know, we're not of the generation of live Instagram. So, you know, this is the best you'll get from us, I'm afraid. But yeah, we have got some great questions. So Ray, who's going to go first? Do you want me to ask you a few? Do you want to ask me?
Oh, come on. Just let's actually, one of the things that's practical, I'll ask you a question, Sophie. You know, one of the things that everybody's going to be asking about is they're coming across to Bristol. They need to get from the airport, get to the university. And so, you know, is there any help for anybody in terms of getting transfers from the airport?
No, we make students walk. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Of course, as help. Yeah. So we know that most of our international students fly into Heathrow. So there will be airport pickup organised. There is a small cost for this. It is only £10, but the benefit obviously is that you'll get met at the airport by one of our student ambassadors. It will take you to the UE campus, where we will then help you kind of get onto your, if you're living on campus, obviously great, you're there. But if not, we'll help you with things like booking taxis to get onto your accommodation. And the good thing is we do actually have a communication timed for next week about this. So look out for that. But yeah, we know at this time of the year, while students are starting to apply for the visa, they're starting to think, okay, what happens next? You must book for this service. So please don't just turn up at the airport. If the service isn't running on days that you're able to, like, we know that sometimes flight available to your cost. We've got some really useful information on our website about different ways. It's very easy to travel from London or even from Bristol or from other airports into Bristol. And in fact, the megabus which goes from Heathrow stops at the university main campus. If not, it's to the main bus station, which is only a 20-minute drive you know, to the main campus. So no worries about airport pickup. Look out for that email next week, and please make sure that you either register your interest, or once you've got those travel dates booked, that you book onto one of those services. Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah, and lots of people are asking detailed questions. Just to remind everybody that we are going to be sending out communications, and that it's really important to be looking at your welcome portal, to be looking at your email, you know, constantly. I'd be checking in every day, to be honest, because you don't and with the airport pickups, all that information of how you pay, how you book onto them, that's all coming your way. So not to worry about that. But, you know, lots of people are asking, Sophie, things about their visa, and obviously we've said about CAS. Is there kind of a latest date when you must have your visa by?
Yeah, so the date, we talked a little bit about some of those kind of latest dates, and obviously the date that we issue your CAS isn't necessarily that you've submitted your visa. So it's really important. I mean, if you get your CAS now, at any point, please apply for your visa as soon as possible. We've given you CAS because from our perspective, all of the documents that you need to be able to apply for your visa are ready. Obviously, if you've got to wait for something, or something happens with your bank account balance that you need to top up and we need to make any changes, don't apply until that's sorted, but apply as soon as possible. After that, August the 18th, and I'm sure you all remember that, but the 18th of August, latest CAS date, it's really important that you apply within that week. We've set those dates to ensure that you arrive on time. So yes, we've issued you your CAS, but that doesn't mean that you can be like, oh, I've got my CAS for UE now. Let's leave it a few weeks until September. I'll apply then, no worries. This is the busiest time of the year for the Home Office to be processing visas. So they really encourage you to apply as much in advance as possible. We know that's not always possible. There was a really great question. I've seen a couple of questions actually where students are asking, can they apply for CAS before they get the results? Unfortunately not if it's a condition of your offer. So if you're an A-level student waiting for your results, a University of London external student, you must wait until you have an unconditional offer. We're only going to be able to issue your CAS then. So we know that there are a few students who can only apply for their visa the latest that we issue the CAS, and that's fine. We've done that on purpose, but please don't leave it much more than a week after we've issued you your CAS to apply, to make sure that you get here on time.
And whilst you've been doing that, you know, Sophie, loads of stuff about people wanting to connect in the summer and talking about food. And people are talking about spicy. They need to come to Thailand. If you like spice, get over here. It's really spicy. But I'm telling you, you're going to the UK. It's not very spicy there. I don't think the UK is that well known for food. So you're going to have to find out the best places to go and eat in the UK when you're in Bristol. Where is the best place, Sophie? If you were recommending?
Oh, I think it depends on the food, and actually, it's it's interesting because I think although maybe British food isn't known as being the best food in the world, because of that, we adopt a lot of different foods. So actually, you know, at one point in time, our most popular kind of British dish was
Yeah.
chicken tikka masala, which doesn't really exist in India. But so the great thing, so don't worry if you're coming. I think Ray's joking there a little bit, although British food isn't known for being spicy because our food doesn't always have the best reputation. We have restaurants from all over the world. And in fact, Bristol is often voted one of the top food destinations in the UK. So normally London, Edinburgh, Bristol are in the top kind of 3 best food places. So you're coming, if you're a bit of a foodie, which I am, you're coming to a fantastic city where you're going to be able to get Thai food, Vietnamese, Indian, you know, Nigerian, any Turkish, any kind of food that you can think of. Generally, it will be there in Bristol. And actually, I think this probably leads us on to a question that I've got for you, Ray, which one of the great things that we get often asked is, what would be your top 5? And that's quite a lot to answer, so we could maybe go for top 3. But what would be your top 5 bits of advice for international students joining this year?
Well, it's really funny this because I recently did the webinar for the actual academic offences, and in that webinar there's a lot of talk about 3 Ps, and that's the being actually well prepared and being, you know, practice things to actually do that. And at the end of the day, it's all about getting engaging, so it's all about really participating. And I reckon they would be my top 3. You know, you're getting to the point where you're going to go to the university. So the first thing is prepare as much as you can, listen to all the videos, listen to the advice you're giving, but then make your own decisions. Kind of thinking even about what you pack. You're preparing to pack, but you don't have to take everything with you. You know, it really isn't like that. So prepare what's important to you. So I'd say first bit of advice in terms of being a university is always be prepared. Be prepared, and actually be prepared for the things you wouldn't expect. The second thing is around practicing. I think one of the great things about being in university is you can practice all sorts of things. So I'm not just talking about practicing in your study. I'm talking about practicing that you can join clubs, societies. We've just talked about food, you know, actually getting out, meeting new friends. All of that takes a lot of practice. We all have to meet different people, find out who we can really get on with. So I would say practice is really important. But the one that I'm excited about is always participate. You know, if you go to university, there's no point in going to university and then not actually spending lots of times socializing with others, getting involved in your studies, getting into class, getting to know Bristol, and actually, if you're in the UK, getting to see the rest of the UK or getting across to Europe. It's about participating with each other in a great way. So my tips for the university is really go with the idea that you're going to have the best time of your life, the best time in terms of your study, the best time in terms of the people you're going to meet, the best time in terms of where you're going to go and what you're going to see. All of this is just going to be magic. So I don't think that was 5. I think that was loads of things. And I'm flying across, Sophie, on September the 20th.
Oh, so maybe you'll be on a flight with some of our international students. So look out for Ray if you're on there. I don't think you'll be on the airport pickup, Ray, but maybe on the flight.
But yeah, I'm going to get across on the 20th because I want to participate in everything that's happening at the start of your time at the university. So starting block, I want to just see what goes on because I'm over here in Thailand, so I don't get back to the UK that often. So I just want to come and participate. I'll certainly have to prepare for that visit, and of course I'll have to practice as well when I'm there. Sophie, we're still getting loads of questions about CASs though. Do you think we ought to run through about
that? I think so. So I think just as a reminder, we've only started issuing CASs in June. So students who are saying I've been waiting for a month, we do appreciate that feels like a long time. We must, for students who are from countries where your bank statement needs checking, that does add another layer of checking. So obviously we need to make sure, have your funds matured? We won't even look at your bank statement until Cash Shield tells us that your funds are ready to be checked, that you've uploaded all of those documents. So make sure that on Cash Shield it's telling you that everything is ready from your side. B, only chase CAS once you can see that your funds have been approved by UE, so you'll be able to see that status change. If you can see that it has, please do let us know, because we obviously don't want to wait too long if your funds have been approved. But please do be a little patient. We know how important CASs are. We know it's so, you're so keen to just apply for your visa. The good news is we know from the Home Office that their visa turnaround time is within their published dates, which is normally, they try and do their published visas within 10 working days, and they are within there at the moment. One thing that's very important, actually, because obviously us issuing your CAS is one part of the journey. One of the things that we know over time, the Home Office look at a lot more, and we really encourage you to submit as part of your visa application, is if you're joining us for a master's course, or even maybe a top-up or an undergraduate, and you have a study gap, the Home Office want to understand what you've been doing during that gap. For many students, it's going to be working, but quite often perhaps references aren't submitted or there's not a CV. So what they often ask is that you submit a written statement just explaining what you've been doing between graduation and joining UE. And that just means when they process your application, they don't have to reach out to you and ask for more information. Last year, unfortunately, we had a few students who the Home Office contacted them. The email went into their spam folder, so please check your spam. And they missed the request for additional information, and then their visa was rejected. We worked on that. We worked with the students to turn it around, because we understand emails going into their spam folder, it can't be helped. We've all had it happen, but it's just an unnecessary delay and a rejection that nobody wants to get. So, yes, we're working on your CAS. I know that even 1 or 2 days can feel like a long time when you're waiting for something so important. It's not a delay because there's any issue with your record. If there is, we'll reach out to you. It's just like Ray mentioned before, we've got thousands of students joining, and there are lots of important, from our perspective, we don't want to make a mistake. When we send that CAS to you, we want to make sure that all of the information is as correct as it can be possible, so that you're not then having further delays by coming back to us. So issuing a CAS cannot be something that we rush, because it's such an important document to us, and to you more than us actually, that we need to make sure that we do everything very carefully to get that good information to you. But please do get in touch if you feel that you can see on CAS Shield that everything's approved, everything's ready, you've still not got your CAS. Please do reach out and let us know. If we've got any Nigerian students on the call, on the live chat, it's just to point out to you that because of the big fluctuation that you're seeing in your currency from this week from last week to this week, and the changes to Form A, we're pausing just for this week, and maybe early into next week, just because we want the currency to kind of flatten out. And what we're also doing is we're checking, for those who have already uploaded bank statements, we're just checking that the balances are still okay. So if you're Nigerian, please don't panic if there is a bit of a delay with you. This is on purpose, just to make sure that we're supporting you not getting a visa refusal because of the currency difficulties that you're facing at the moment. And also, if you are concerned about that currency difference, please do reach out to us. I'll stop there because I know there are lots of different nationalities on here, but I know that we've got a few Nigerian students I can see through the chat.
Yeah, there's so many. It's just fascinating seeing where everybody's coming from, and people, as I say, connecting, which is really good. And whilst we're on that subject of thinking about money, some people have been asking about money and how much they should take to the university. Well, of course, the best thing in the world is that if you've got a global type of credit card, or a card, one of those cards you preload, then that's a really good thing to have, because you certainly don't want to be taking loads and loads of cash with you when you go over to the university. But one thing obviously to consider is that when you're at the university, you want to probably open your own bank account, and that does take a couple of weeks in terms of going through all the checks and all of that stuff. So yeah, you need to think about enough money to actually get you through in terms of food, and get you through in terms of activities for the first couple of weeks. But as much of it that can be on a card, that's the best. If you're able to do, with your bank, the type of thing where you can do scans and they can do that internationally, that's brilliant. But I know that's sometimes very difficult. One thing to bear in mind is UWE is actually becoming a cashless campus. So you will have to, once you've opened your bank account, you will have to, whether it's the QR code, whether it's scanning, whether it's actually having the card where you just tap it on, you will need to be doing that when you're on campus. If you want to grab a drink or something on campus, that's going to be important. But with the money, don't forget that Money Matters kind of webinar. That's something you can tune into.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's stuff about money. I never worry about money.
And I think we kind of I just want to loop back around to one of the top tips actually that I would have, because, and actually it's similar to what you've said anyway, Ray, because it's all about preparing, participating, but we've had quite a few questions about getting work in Bristol when they're here. And Bristol, you know, it's a big student city. There will be work opportunities, but you've got to plan that won't be instant. Some of our students are very lucky. They manage to, you know, spot a job vacancy or go and submit their CV. But you've got to remember, you're moving to a new country. You're going to have lots of things happening when you first arrive. You know, try and kind of not put pressure on yourself to get work immediately. You know, the whole reason that in your bank statement we asked to look at that you've got that cost of living is that you should come prepared with the main costs, and that job should be for extra income. But we do have a great career service at UE. So my top tip, kind of as an extension to Ray's, is that when you arrive, don't panic about getting a job first of all. That should not be your priority, but we know it's important. So it's a great way, you know, when I was a student many years ago, I worked part-time as a student. I met loads of friends through there. It made me a bit of extra money so that I could kind of enjoy myself a bit more. And it actually gave me great experience when applying for future jobs. So, you know, make sure that you engage with our career services. They offer great workshops on how to write a CV if you don't have one already, how to apply for a job, interview skills. It can be really hard. If I was to suddenly move over to Nigeria, I'm sure that the interview skills over there that I would need are maybe different to what it is in the UK. So there's a lot of really useful hints and tips that you'll get from our career service, and that we do also advertise part-time jobs as well at UE. And there are also actually jobs at UE. So a lot of the staff who work in our kind of cafes, we've got Starbucks, Costa, are students as well. And also some of our international students become student ambassadors. So that means that things like when we have open days, when we go to fairs and events in the UK, they actually are ambassadors, paid ambassadors of the university. So for those of you who are really good communicators, and communication doesn't mean your English language is perfect, but it means that you are open, you're confident when you speak, you may actually be able to apply to be an ambassador of the university, which would be fantastic. I'd love your journey with us to be that, you know, you've applied, that we've met with you here, that you've met some other students, and that you've become a real ambassador whilst you're here, and an ambassador when you graduate and become an alumni. So it's all part of your journey to UE, which is really important. And Ray, one of the questions that I've seen that we're getting here, and I know that we got a couple of questions in advance kind of talking about fees, finance, affordability, is we've still got some questions about scholarships, and I wonder if you could just talk us through scholarships a little bit.
Yeah, actually, one of the things to say is that with scholarships is that there were some scholarships that were, I call them big headline scholarships. They're scholarships where perhaps because of particular academic success or where you had to apply for them, they would be awarded. But I'm afraid to say for September, they've now been awarded. So I'm afraid if you were going to ask about, oh, is there a 50% scholarship or something like that? I'm afraid no, they've gone now. Having said that, there are, of course, scholarships that are awarded within our countries and within our regions, and that tends to be through the regional managers. They've actually got funds where they do that, but again, there tends to be a criteria. That criteria could be around academic achievement. It may be because you've done a particular competition. I was actually looking at some students who did a video competition in Malaysia, and they got a scholarship related to their video competition. So I think, if I'm being honest now, we're getting to the stage where there are a few scholarships available. If it really is an issue for you, then it is a case of talking and connecting with your regional manager. But I think realistically now, it's a case of saying the scholarship time is pretty much gone, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I think the you know, I touched upon very quickly before about the Nigeria situation, and I would encourage any Nigerian offer holders who are on this or watch this afterwards, who are worried about that exchange rate change, please do get in touch. And for those of you, I mean, I won't go into details for everyone, but just to say these have been big exchange rates. So just in case there's anyone who thinks, oh, hang on, our, you know, the Malaysian ringgit has changed by 0.2%, maybe I can get in touch. It's a 30 to 40 80% change for Nigerian students joining us. So that's why we're saying this. It's a good opportunity because I can see that a few students are quite rightly and understandably worried about that. So please do get in touch with us through international@uwe.ac.uk. If you're using an agent, get in touch with your agents. Or if you're in touch with our regional manager already, don't tell them that Sophie said you can have unlimited scholarships. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're looking a little bit of a shortfall, we can at least have a discussion with you about your options. And so, Ray, I've got another question actually, and this is more thinking a little bit forward. We've talked a lot about their kind of where we are now, the things that we expect students to do right now. We've talked a little bit about their arrival to the university, things like kind of some of the top tips. And one of the things that I think is a bit of an extension to that, and you know that we know that some students struggle with, it's a big thing to adapt to, is that kind of assignment writing, and where do they get information about that? We talked a little bit about UE Thrive, but for students especially coming on masters 1 year, it's a big learning curve. So do you have any advice or you know, things that they could consider around kind of preparing to study?
Well, one of the things I would say right away is on the 14th of July, we're going to have a webinar, which is where we'll be sharing some of the ideas about the support and advice you can get. The next thing, and you can look up now, if you go onto the UE website, you can look up about all of the support from the library. And the library support services, I mean, everybody, they're just fantastic. You can go there and have help with academic writing. You can go and actually do work with research. They'll help you with your referencing, because all of these things are really important when you're doing the academic studies. And all of the colleges and the schools that you'll be with, they also have what we call academic success centres. These are places where you can go and again get help and support. The thing about university is you're in a big community. People aren't going to come to you and say, oh, come into my group now, come and get some extra help with your English, or come and see if you want some help with this academic writing. The offer is there. You've got to be the person who participates, that P again. You're going to be the person who's going to have to go along and get the advice. But no one is going to think it's stupid of you to do that. It's really important. You know, whether it's in your seminar class, whether it's in your tutorial, or by just going along to the library. I keep saying the library because that's such a great place to go and ask if you want help. Ask for help, and I think I can promise you, you're going to get that help. You know, the results are coming out at the moment at the university of all the graduates for this year, and they are sensational. But do you know the people who get the best results? They're the ones who've asked for help all the way along the way. So never stop from doing that. But July 14th, tune in to the webinar and there'll be a bit more information.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that sometimes asking for help before you even think you need it is really important. Because especially for postgraduate, I'm so sorry, master students, we're not trying to scare you, but it's important that we, you know, kind of communicate this to you. That 1 year is so short. So if you get your first set of results and you haven't done how you expected, it's not a lot of time. There's a lot of, you know, support with resits and things like that, but there's not a lot of time to be able to kind of change your behavior or understand what you need to change. So we really, even if you don't think, oh, I don't need help, I'm a first class degree student, the UK will be different. It will be a different type of teaching than what you're used to for a lot of students. So please engage with those services. It's so much money that you're investing in your future and your study that sometimes we know that students prioritise other things. I'll get that part-time job. I'll go out to the pub, which is fine. It's all part of your student experience, but you've invested in your education and your future. So never be embarrassed to ask, never wait too long, but even if it does seem like it's too late, it never is. The students who struggle the most, a bit like Ray said, are those who don't come forward, they don't ask, they're embarrassed, perhaps they're a bit ashamed, they've failed something for the first time and that's never happened in their own country. So yeah, I think that's really important. You know, I'm sure all of you are, you know, we tend to find that a lot of our offer holders who attend these webinars are, you know, the ones who are most engaged. So I'm confident that all of you today will take our advice and you'll all be getting merits and first class degrees and no problem. But it is hard. It will be, you know, a challenge for a lot of our students, but that's part of the experience. This is why you're coming to the UK, for that challenging degree to get you that great job when you graduate. And one of the things I just want to say quickly, and this isn't a question that we kind of had seen in advance, but I'm seeing quite a lot of it today, is when does my course start? Now, most of them will be the 18th of September. However, course dates do vary, and that will be on your CAS letter, which I know is a bit contentious for some of you because you've been waiting for your CAS for a little while. But when you get your CAS letter, it will mention the date of the course, the date when the course starts. It will also mention the length, so please do check that when you're doing your CAS preview, check that the length is correct. And it will also tell you your latest start date. Now, what's very important about the latest start date is this is not a rolling date. It doesn't mean that, okay, the course starts on the 18th of September, but it also starts again on the 8th of October. This is the latest start date in which you can physically join the programme and without us having to withdraw you because it's too late. So this is why we set all of these deadlines to get you here for the start of your course, and it's why really we trying to get you there, because by that latest start date, for a lot of you, you will have missed 3 weeks of teaching. So really important. You know, that's some really key information when we're talking about kind of getting that help, getting that understanding. 3 weeks, again, especially for master students, it seems like you're getting a hard time, but it is the truth. You know, you've missed quite a bit of your teaching already if you join us too late. So we know sometimes it can't be helped, and that's why we set it. So we have had some really good questions about that latest start date. And I wonder, Ray, are there some other questions that we have? Have we missed anything?
I'm just so enjoying this call because what I keep seeing is, you know, everybody's saying where they're from and they're actually linking with each other, and you know, people are beginning to connect already. It's just fantastic. It just shows you what a great you're all going to have when you get to the university. It's lovely. You're going to be part of such a big international community. Somebody just from Zimbabwe, actually just up, and well, I could just go on. It's great seeing that. With a lot of the questions, they are the questions that I know in the background, we're firing away and answering as many of those as we can. But as I say, the biggest question that comes up are people just worried about the CAS. And we can only keep saying to you, please don't worry. At the moment, they're being issued. I talked to the team here in Asia, who we're doing a lot of the CASs today, and I think it was something like 55 went out this morning, and it's just like that. It's all the time they're going out, but obviously, just to remind you, there are hundreds and hundreds of people having their CAS processed, so it all takes a little bit of time. Somebody did say, this is a question, and this stumped me. So, you know, they said, I'm stuck on the CAS, the enrollee system, CAS Shield, 1%, and it's stuck.
Yeah, so there's two percentages. There's two different things that you'll see on CAS Shield about the progress and being stuck there. Some of you being stuck, maybe that there's still a little bit of information that we need from you, so it's important that you check each of the sections. Something that I didn't mention before that's quite important is there is a pre-CAS questionnaire on there that we encourage everyone to do. Make sure you've done that, but please take it seriously. Sometimes students don't really understand why it's there. They give silly answers or not very thorough answers, but we do use that to assess why you're coming. It's like a very, very, very brief kind of credibility interview. So why are you coming? Why the UK? We've had a few students where we had to ask them to redo it again, so we've reset it, we've sent it back to them, and the feedback we've had is they just didn't understand what that was about, and that's fine, we understand that. So remember to do that properly. For those of you who feel that you've been stuck for some time, it might be that it's your bank statement that needs checking by UE, or it might be that you're still conditional. So if you're still a conditional offer holder, it's not going to really move too much more forward, because as mentioned before, until you've met the conditions of your offer, you're not, you know, you could have done everything else, but you're not going to be able to get your CAS, because that's a big part of your CAS journey. What I'm going to do is, taking away from here today, is like Ray said, CAS issuance and outstanding CAS numbers is a big thing we talk about this time of year, because we know how important it is to you. So I'll go away and have a chat with the team, and you know, we'll make sure that we're all on track, and that we're kind of getting through as much as possible, and you know, make sure that those of you especially who have been waiting us some time, please, if you've been waiting some time, email international@uwe.ac.uk. In that email, say you attended the Instagram live. You know, my communication team aren't going to be very happy with me that I've said this, but tell them that you attended the session today, but only if you've been waiting for a CAS more than 2 weeks. if it's been less than 2 weeks, it might be that we've still got to approve your bank statements, and then it's got to go to the process of issuing CAS. But if you've been waiting kind of at that 2 week point or longer, send in an email, say that you attended the UE Live Instagram, and that you want an update on your CAS, and we'll get that responded to. Again, if you all do it, all you're doing, please don't send repeated emails, because all you're doing is our per email team then have thousands of emails to answer and they can't get round to it. So one email should be sufficient. We try and answer those within 48 hours, but if you all suddenly send hundreds of emails, we're not going to be able to do that. So yeah, anything else that you spot? Like you, I'm just loving seeing all of this is the first Instagram live that I've done, and this is fantastic. Great to see you all chatting.
And as I say, we're going to get around to answering those questions. And what's lovely is the questions that I think come up every year. Everybody, obviously is anxious at this time and they want to get everything right. And all I can say to you, and Sophie can say, is that this kind of happens every year, and people get to the university and they have a great time in their thousands. And so please don't worry. And I noticed there are 1 or 2 mums and dads on the line, and really reassure you as well that everything will be done possible to make sure that things are safe and happy and really good for your son or daughter in Bristol. So, great to see you on the call as well.
Fab. Well, I think what we might do, it's hard. I'd like to stay on forever and just see where you're all coming from and see the courses and, wait for new questions to come in. But I'm sure, lots of you have got, you're probably all going to go off and email us now about your CAS actually. So I'm sure most of you are keen to go and do that. But it's been amazing. I can't tell you how special it is for us to be able to reach out and connect with our kind of future students, our future alumni. So, fantastic to be connecting with you at this part of your journey. Apologies for those who feel that they've kind of been waiting for their CAS longer than they would have liked. And good luck to you at your next kind of, your point of joining UE. So thank you ever so much for me. Ray, any last words from you?
Yeah, just no, it's been amazing. Really enjoyed it. And all this talk of food has made me very hungry. And because of course, Thailand, it's now the evening here. So it's time for me to go and find something to eat. But I look forward to hopefully catching up with you and having something to eat with all of you in Bristol in September. Looking forward to it.
Thank you ever so much. And thank you, everyone. We will end the live chat now. And if you're watching this on record, thank you for taking the time to watch this. It's a lot of information to take in, and you will get a copy. For those of you who have joined, a copy of this will be circulated, so you'll be able to revisit the information. But key things, stay in touch. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in September. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.